Okay, so we've got another live with the lovely Simon Cox and myself, and we're going to be discussing business planning, and this one is for me very close. It's one of my strongest areas, one of my specialist areas. So I've been doing it for a number of years, and it always sticks with me. Proper planning prevents piss poor performance, and it's as simple as that. You know, there are those that wing it and those that plan. For me, business planning has to be one of the most effective tools in your business to get the best out of your money, resources, and time and talent and everything. From my point of view, it's just as simple as that. What do you think?
Yeah, 100%. This is why I was itching to talk about this topic with you tonight because I think you've mentioned the P's there, and the amount of people that don't plan, it's incredible. But how important it is to plan, and some people think, when I tell them what we get up to here and what I get up to with my diary and things, they're like, "Really, you're so anal?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not. I'm organised because you never know what's going to creep up on you in life, do you? And at least if you're planned, you can work around things. So,
Yeah,
great
absolutely.
topic.
Yeah, it is. And when I've always looked at this, I've always and you, how can I say? I always look at four areas: so strategy, processes, people, and systems. And there's those four areas that all interconnect. Now, if you want to scale, you can lob cash in there as well, because you need that to scale and grow. But those four areas predominantly are all interlinked, and a very sort of like very top level view. And you can then drop down that level. So those four interact with each other, but then you can go deeper into that and saying into the functional areas like financial management and products and services and quality and stuff like that, which is which is the ideal mark because that's where sort of like bridges the gap. But surrounding those four areas is execution, because without you taking action, you do jack shit. Simple as that. You stay where you are. And the plan is just a piece of paper with a load of crap on it, basically. So yeah, it is. Business planning won't deliver anything unless you put in that what I class as the PDCA side, which we've done through manufacturing, that plan, do, check, act side. So we know who does what by when, and it's tracked. Simple as that. What
Mm.
do you? Because I know you are. I'd say as me very big on this action planning side. I mean, some of the stats I was reading up on I just checked previously just before come on, is that most businesses, I think we say 97% of businesses have a vision, 80% have a clear strategic plan, and then as it goes from there, it becomes 52% see slight success in their execution, and only 33% see significant success with their execution. It's that execution bit that's the killer that stops. Personally, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean the execution, obviously, as you said, without the execution, you might as well waste your time. So,
Yeah.
it is about the execution at the end of the day. And I think you've got to, even if you think it's going to fall over, or you need extra resources or help or anything to execute that plan, then as long as you learn from any challenges, headaches, mistakes, whatever that come from it, it's all part of growth and all part of learning. But the reason I thought it was interesting to talk about it is because a lot of people say, "Oh, pandemic, struggling, nothing to do, nothing's going on." And I'm like, I've got so much going on because we make it happen. And I think it's about the execution, but also it's the fact that we've actually planned to get involved with certain things, certain areas, certain things, to help support the business, but also ourselves as well. And all we're doing, those that are struggling out there, I suppose, with the pandemic, and if they've got time on their hands where business has slowed, they've got opportunity to learn and grow and reinvent themselves if need be. So I thought it was a really interesting topic because, as you know, I love to plan. I love to plan finances. I love to plan the time of where I spend. I love to plan conversations with people as well, even if it's a one to one. I send through a document to people these days saying, "Come on, we're gonna have a one to one, but let's actually document what the one to one's going to be about, so we can actually get something tangible down on paper." that's printed. It's not handwritten because my handwriting's shocking. But at least if it's typed up, we've got something to come out of that conversation. So planning is such a massive thing, and yet so many people don't do it.
Yeah, and I've never understood it, and it is. I mean, it's the old saying, isn't it? Is that we end up like the 97% have the vision, but it just ends up as a piece of paper on the wall or stuck in a drawer. They've never done that next level down from it, and again, you saying, because I know from your spreadsheet and everything around your time allocation, your time management, which equals productivity, and the whole shebang on that side. I mean, from my personal point of view, I look at the 3 to 5 year strategy, and I do this with businesses. We look at the 3 to 5 year strategy of where they want to be. We'll then drop it down into a 12-month distillation, sort of like around what the objectives will be for that first step in that first year to reach that 3.5. Then I drop it down into the 90 days, so the quarters, and then we drop it down into the weeks and then the days, because you can then manage, you can then put in a time allocation against the objective. Now, it sounds very, very bloody anal, and it sounds really, really over the top, but it delivers. And the thing for me is, again, some of the stats around it, and I was looking at it, is that businesses that with a plan succeed better than those without a plan in two main areas: securing funding, which is critical, and growth. So on the secured funding side, those without a plan, the business is about 18% get it. Those that have got a plan secure loans and funding are about 37%. Growth side, those without a plan 43%, those with a plan 65%. So there's a significant increase, and it is, for me, it is critical. I've operated within businesses where we've had it across 38 sites globally. And saved, bloody hell, 10 plus million in the first year across it. But it was about 18 million, I think it was, in the first year when we did it. So yeah, it's critical, so critical.
But do you find those that don't plan are normally like last minute, just in time, rushing around, headless chickens? Oh my God, drama! Because if you're planning, surely you've got visibility. You've got visibility of your supply coming in. You've got visibility of budgeted hours and things like that, rather than just like, oh my gosh, this has got to be done by tomorrow. We're like, what? I can't. The dog's sick. You've got to find a way of getting around these challenges, but also, if you've planned ahead, you've got time, and to utilize the time is such a massive thing to do, because time, as we know, ticks along, and if we can start a process earlier and then allow time to naturally evolve that process or help that process along the way, then it's going to help a lot of things, isn't it? It's not just a case of it's Christmas Day tomorrow, I'm just going to go and get a present. It's like, no way. Mine's done in October, November time, rather than lastminute.com. I can't do that.
Yeah, no, I can't. I can't get around that. And I suppose it's because for us, it's probably a habit, it's ingrained in us, because we've gone down that route and done that, and that's probably what might be missing, within a lot of the businesses. That hold your feet to the fire and drive and discipline. At the end of the day, it's a discipline. So yeah, and again, it's like when you think back around the pandemic, is that because you've got this discipline and this strategic intent around your plan, you review it. So you yes, there's a crisis. Yes, in some respects, I mean, you may have even gone down using some things like some exercise like Pest and Pestle, where you've looked in at some of the environmental impacts in a business continuity thing, because you've got this strategic plan in place, or this strategic system in place, process in place, that you've looked at this business continuity plan and you've already got ideas and action plans that you can do. So yeah, those with a plan, I think, just tend to be able to react and put in place things quicker than those that wing it. Is my personal opinion, and there's no two ways about it. If you ain't got a plan, you're winging it. In my opinion. But yeah, it's. I mean, do you review it as a team? Is it get all together?
So not as a team, because obviously everyone's got their own various areas and various strengths and things like that. But Marie and I will sit and talk quite openly and honestly about things. In the past, when I've headed up teams in finance departments and things like that, and worked with a family, yeah, of course we've sat down and gone through things and gone, right, what do you think? What do you think? And sometimes just because I might have an idea, it doesn't mean it's the right idea. So sometimes we've reined each other in sometimes, but I think the thing that puts people off it, and just to touch on this, I think is the fact that people that they're concerned about the accountability to the plan. Someone actually saying, "Hold on a minute, we said X and we've delivered Z. What happened to Y? We've gone so far away from the plan." And I think it's the accountability that puts people off planning. And I just think, in where we've all been with the pandemic, with COVID, it was a little bit rocky. It was unable, people are unable to plan. But surely now is the time to start and learn from all that and look at what we can do. And someone said to me the other day, they said, "Oh, another wave," and I'm like, "Well, if we get another wave, it's in column A. If we don't get another wave, it's in column B." So we've actually, we're ready to diversify and we either go A or B, whichever way it is, because none of us saw this coming. It's happened. We've learned from it, but we've got the opportunity to either grow from it or to sit and scratch our heads, going, "What are we doing?"
Yeah,
You
I
know?
mean, I can remember in a networking meeting, I think it was, we had the first lockdown and coming into the second lockdown, and people saying, well, what are you going to do differently in the second lockdown? I said, well, by rights, you should have learnt on the first lockdown and put plans in place so you got plan A, B, C, D, and E exactly as you're saying for the second one. So there shouldn't be anything that's holding you back. It's just a matter of what opportunities and finding those opportunities and getting out there. Now, yeah, maybe easier said than done, but that is what strategic planning is about. Then you get into that tactical execution side, with who's doing what by when. So yeah, people laugh at me because every hour of the day, this, and I think you're similar time blocked. There's every hour of the day is time blocked in for me, and the objectives that I have to do against my 90-day plan, 12-month, 3 year, are planned in on a daily basis. I'm very, very structured and very rigid on that.
I must admit, if I've set a plan for the month, as in, from the marketing point of view, from what we do here at Poppy, if I'm going to do X, Y, and Z activity, and also I don't hit that, or I get dragged away, it's like, oh my gosh, to me that's a big thing, not hitting the plan or exceeding the plan, or something happens, or something, all of a sudden, one of the kids is sick, or the dog's not well, or just, oh no, the sun shines and someone says, let's go away for a weekend, and you diversify away from that plan. Do you know what? It actually frustrates me. I'm like, oh my gosh, no, I don't want to do this. We've got to stick to the plan. Because what I look at is you're not going to jump in the car and just drive to Scotland without looking at where you're going. And but so many people do it in business, don't they? And
yeah,
it's mad.
It still amazes me. You get the different levels and the so that in like sort of like my mentoring programs, I run across the startup, ramp up, build up, and scale up side. So the startup side, you may be a very, very small business or just want to get some alignment and stuff like that. So I won't go into very much into overwhelm and depth and things like that. But when you get to the ramp up stage, which is all about sales, marketing, revenue generating tasks, that's when I then start going into some real deep diagnostic stuff focused in those areas. And then as it goes to the next level, I expand it out again, so you get leadership and quality and product and services and everything. So it then becomes a lot deeper diagnostic, because that's the way the business builds. There's no point in looking at some of the areas within a business if you're in that ramp up stage, because it is all about sales and marketing and revenue generating and making sure you got the pipeline filled. So yeah,
It's interesting as well, because alongside planning, we'll go like the what if scenarios and forecasting and stuff like this. And from someone that's actually sitting in a marketing role at the moment, also I'm talking about forecasting and budgeting and things like that. It might sound a bit strange, but having been in those roles in the past, I think it's especially with COVID and things like that. What if this happened? What would be the impact? What if this happened? What would be the impact? I love all that scenario planning where you can actually plan saying, what if this actually happened? And, I make it quite open. I spent 5 years in the football industry, heading up a financial team in the industry. And some of the things we looked at, even from a simple spreadsheet, what if the team won that game? What would the impact be? It'd have an impact on not only the crowd. If you won a big game, it would pull more people in the next game. If you signed a new player, that would have an impact on the business. If you lost, oh my gosh, that would have an impact on the business, let alone getting relegated or promoted. So there's a lot of variables in sport, and it's interesting how sport is actually taking on planning as well. And some football clubs are actually, the minute they sign a player, they're looking to replace that player in their scouting strategy even the minute before that player's kicked a ball, because they know they contracted that player for a year or 2 years, and the chances are they can buy him for X and sell it for Y. And they're always planning ahead these days. And I think comes back to data driven businesses and things like this. And again, so many people say, oh, it's all right for you, you've got a team of people. No, anyone can do this. It's just a case of having to get rigid with time, isn't it?
Yeah, it's discipline. From a solopreneur up, business planning is critical. In my opinion, and it's one of the first things I work on with anybody that's looking for that growth element. And making a difference within the business, depending on what stage they're at or where they're at in that startup to scale up side, is the way we look at it. But yeah, but coming back to what you were saying is that, looking at the data, looking at the key KPIs, key performance indicators, and going all round these different scenarios really does get you thinking differently and driving differently. And, you can have some fantastic thoughts around just things, particularly if you've got a collective, and using people that are outside of your business as well, because they'll just have a completely different view. That cross-functional team of people outside of the business, even down to customers, it can be fantastic. That can absolutely fantastic, very powerful. The other thing that I do with the bigger businesses, in particular, if you've got you've got your teams in there, is that nobody leaves the room with silent disagreement. You say everything in this room and say it as it is. So you can't, because the last thing you want is anybody sort of like in silent disagreement, because it is a disruptor against what you're trying to do. You want complete alignment. So that's one of the sides for the bigger businesses.
No, I like that. I mean, we're very, very focused on our ethos, which is obviously honesty and transparency, and being upfront with people, but also internally as well. And even if we ever sit down and have a coffee occasionally and sit down and go through our planning and go through what's coming up and things, at the end of the day, if someone says that's a bad idea, we'll thrash out the idea as to what's bad about it until we actually get to either turn it into a good idea or bin the idea in the first place. But on the other side, if something's a good idea, we'll look at it and go, right, okay, how can we drive this? How can we fly forward with this? And that's what teamwork's about at the end of the day, isn't it? It is important, and it's interesting because I love that approach. And I've been in meetings in the past, but not so much within Poppy, but in my corporate life, it's actually got quite heated as well. You just seeing all this, the frustration from people, but also the energy that is actually around the table as well, and different people's views. I love that approach.
No, it is, because it's amazing how people think differently. And that I've always said, question and challenge with dignity and respect, but question and challenge hard, bloody hard, but always show respect and always show dignity. You don't need to fly off the handle. It's there are. I've been in some fantastic meetings, where it's it's been heated, but being brilliant at the end of the day for the direction of the company and where it's going. Superb. As an employee and as a coach, and as a mentor. Sorry, Simon.
I was in one meeting about 20 years ago and it got really heated. The finance director said, look, he said, if I'm going to carry all the can for this, I want to know who's got the Chewy bars. And it broke the ice, literally. It literally just smashed the whole atmosphere in the room, because everyone was really being upfront with each other about what the future looked like. Obviously, there's big things that go on, and talking about the football sector, actually, when I was in that, we actually we had a conversation. We planned to spend the prize money from a game of football on staff bonuses and staff Christmas and everything. And of course, we lost that game and didn't get the bonus income come through. So, just be careful if you are planning, just to make sure actually you can actually achieve the plan in the first place and actually accomplish it before you make commitments. Because obviously that one did knock the staff morale a little bit. I'm going back 20 years ago though, so
Yeah. Somebody mentioned to me, there was a book. I can't remember the name of the book, and I know. I think it was. It is Nick Peters that does the which you've met. You've met Nick. Does the manufacturing TV on the Thursday. He's done the big. Is it big, hairy, audacious goal? I mean, I'd heard it as the big ass, hairy ass goal or something like that. I'd seen it. But apparently there's a book on that. I don't know who wrote it, and I've been meaning to have a look at it because I do quite like reading up on some of these things. And there are different ways of doing it. People do it different ways. I mean, I know there's the scale up book, which is like the Goldman Sachs style process, which I think they use similar to what I'd been taught: strategy, process, people, execution. I think they've got in there. Whereas I see those four elements, and execution is encompassing the lot because you've got to execute. You've got to put in the actions and put in the time to shift things forward. So I think we've just covered that one, haven't we? I don't think there's anything more on that. But for me, proper planning prevents piss poor performance. It's as simple as that. Which I think is I don't know whether I'm right in this. I think is an old army thing, isn't it? Proper planning gives.
It wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me. And I think, but it's so true. Plan.
It is, yeah, absolutely. So, yes, thank you very much. And we shall see you again next week.